What do you think of the checking of pitchers these days, Tom, for the spider tack and all the sticky stuff? What do you think about what's going on?
Look, I come down a little bit on both sides. I understand the pitchers' frustration a little bit that this is being done in the middle of the season. That part I get, but at the same time, I've said I don't think they have anybody to blame but themselves. I think everybody knew this was going on in the game to some extent and kind of turned the cheek to it, so to speak, and kind of, I don't want to say hid, but kind of, left it under the guise that, if this helps guys have a little bit better command and we don't have guys getting hit in the head in the batter's box, then it's somewhat of a safety issue. Okay, we'll turn the cheek. But I think clearly it got taken too far, and I don't think Major League Baseball had much of a choice really to step in and do something about it. And so I think from that standpoint, it's the players' fault because they did take it too far. They had somewhat of a gentleman's agreement, so to speak, that went too far. And I think baseball had to get it under control. Now, what are they going to do moving forward? I don't know. I've heard conversations about, well, maybe we need to allow them to use sunscreen, or maybe so if there's a way to differentiate, between spider tack and sunscreen in terms of having a little bit of a grip versus, really enhancing a guy's spin rate on a fastball or a curveball, then I think that's going to be a discussion. I personally just don't know how they go about doing that.
Yeah, we had Don Mattingly on the show yesterday, Tom, and he's saying that players, his guys would come back from the batter's box and just say that ball moved in a way that I've never seen in my entire life. And Don would say that he would.
You hear guys say that, right? And and especially when they talk about spin rate,
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's for old guys like me who played the game, right? A lot of this analytical stuff is just putting numbers to what your eyes see, and I don't need a spin rate meter, so to speak, to tell me if a guy has or threw a good curveball. You can see it, but certainly having spin rate, I think, helps the average fan understand the difference between a good curveball and a mediocre curveball. Now, as it relates to a fastball, I guess that's where spin rate became more of an understanding for me when it came to the fastball, because you do hear guys talk about hitters seeing a fastball, going to hit a fastball where they think it's going to end up based on gravity and all these things, and then because of the spin rate, it doesn't do that. It stays on plane, and that's why guys are swinging and missing so much on high fastballs. So I think there's something to that. How much of it, I don't know. But I do, I see all that. But, you see some pitches nowadays that you kind of are just like, wow, that was, and I think you see some bad ones too, right? I mean, I've seen more in the games I've done this year, Rich. I've seen more 55-foot curveballs than I've seen in a long, long time. And I'm assuming that has something to do with, the sticky stuff the guys have on their hands.
I would think so for sure. And so I guess last thing for you is back in your day, what was there always a concern about having a grip on the baseball as much as we're hearing about right now, Tom?
There's always been a concern about the grip. I think that the conversation now it's a little bit different, right? Like I know for me, and I'll speak for me. If I was going to go, and when I pitched in New York, or when I was in Atlanta and you went to New York or you went to Chicago in April, it's cold. And when it's cold and your hands are cold, it's hard to hold on to that baseball. So, yeah, you're always searching for something in that scenario to try and have a better grip on the ball, not only to command it, but to be able to make it spin and do the things you wanted it to do, whether it was making it spin on a curveball or for me to make it spin the way I wanted it to spin on my sinker and my changeup, knowing I was going to get the movement I'm looking for and the location ultimately that I'm looking for. We didn't define it back then in terms of spin rate, right? We didn't think of it that way. I think that's more a part of the conversation in today's game. But yeah, there's always that fight, so to speak, that balance of, man, it's cold out. I can't really feel my fingers. This ball feels like a snowball in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure where it's going. So, you would try to find any way you could to keep a little bit of perspiration on your hand so you could grip that baseball.
Tom Glavine here on the Rich Eisen Show. He's going to be playing in the American Century Celebrity Golf Championship in Tahoe in a couple weeks. Just a few more minutes left with the Baseball Hall of Famer here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do you think we'll ever see somebody win 300 games again? Somebody's coming in the league right now, win 300 games?
I hate to say never. I'm not a big, I'm a never say never kind of guy. But if you were asking me to bet on it, I would say no. And it's not because there aren't guys in the game talented enough to do it. I mean, if you're going on pure talent alone, then Jake DeGrom is going to win 300 games.
Right.
The problem for the most part is you got to pitch 20 years to win 300 games. And I just don't see anybody in today's game doing that. Like, I don't see guys being able to stay healthy long enough to pitch for 20 years. When you look at so many of the guys in today's game, there are a lot of guys that are max effort guys, and there are some guys that aren't. But even a guy like Jake DeGrom, who I don't consider to be a max effort guy, I love his delivery. I think everything's kind of smooth and easy, and it comes out 100 miles an hour. You're seeing this year, and I hope it doesn't amount to anything, but you're seeing this year he's had a little bit of issues here and there. He's had some dings and some dents a little bit this year. So to think that he's going to be able to pitch at this level for 15 more years, throwing as hard as he does, that's the part for me that I just don't see anybody staying healthy long enough to do it. And then on the flip side of that, you start talking about guys who are max effort guys. There's no way your body's holding up for 20 years. So I think that's the big thing. It's not talent. There are guys that have plenty of talent to do it. I just don't think their bodies are going to hold up for 20 years.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.